the topic bishop against pawn, and of course bishop against pawn only is just like is very simple. So we'll be covering with bishop against bishop plus pawn, and then knight against pawn, and then queen against pawn. This is going to be the our topic of discussion. In between, Tejas is joining, so let me accept him. Hello, good evening, Tejas.
Good
Are you
evening,
ready?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're just going to start, and we'll be covering these three topics: bishop against pawn, knight against pawn, and queen against pawn. And when we say that bishop against pawn, we are taking it as bishop against a bishop and a pawn. Okay, so first we'll discuss the topic bishop against pawn. That's easy one. Only few concepts are there, and you can even see it over here. Yeah. So if a bishop is there, and let's say if a opposite color bishop is here, okay, let's say black has an opposite color bishop, dark square bishop. Okay, let's say this bishop is not here. Okay, let's say a dark square bishop is here, black dark square bishop. So this game is a draw. No need to discuss here because this pawn can never be promoted. Correct? Are you getting? Or is this difficult? Or should I show you the actual example? Okay, let me show you through actual example. Mm, what I'll do is we'll be discussing this example. Let's say this pawn is here, and there is a light square bishop, and there is a dark square bishop. King is here, which is just going to promote. Okay, so this I was saying. If there is a opposite color bishop, so if opposite color bishop, the game is automatically a draw. We cannot do anything, right? Because the pawn can never go forward and white can never make progress. So this will be a draw. So we are discussing the situation only when if a same color bishop is on the board, because then only there will be some fight. So this example that we were going to discuss has the same color bishop, light square bishop. Okay. So we'll make a conclusion here. If the king is not playing part in the game, you see the king is a little bit away from the promotion of pawn, and he's not able to control any of three squares, any of the two squares in front of the pawn, and not even the squares behind the pawn. So we'll make the conclusion that if the pawn is only one step away in terms of the square that is black is controlling, only this square we need to cover, we need to cross, and we are able to promote the pawn. So if the king is away, then we can easily win the game. What you need to do is you just need to challenge the pawn, challenge the bishop, and once you're able to challenge the bishop, it's game over. Okay, getting?
Yes.
So yeah, the conclusion is if the king is not able to make any help, then we are winning. And how do we win the game? That's very simple. What you do is you try to challenge the bishop. We can challenge the bishop from these two squares only. So you try to take your bishop on any of these two squares, and yeah, it will be winning for you. And the easiest way to go is bishop f3, and yeah, so we go bishop f3, and they play a move. It doesn't matter they play a move with the king or with any other piece. Let's say they play the bishop, or even if they go with the king. If they go with the king, that's very easy. You just trade it, and the pawn end game is winning. So let's say they move the bishop. Again, you offer an exchange of bishop, and if they accept or do not accept, it doesn't matter. In both situations, it is winning for us. Let's say if they accept, we take, and king to e8, simple king c7 is winning. So the first situation is if the king is not helping the the bishop or stopping the pawn, then it's a win for the other side. Okay, the stronger king wins the game. Now let's see what happens if the king is behind the pawn. Okay, if the king is just behind the pawn, you see black king is controlling some squares, important squares in behind the pawn. So what is happening? Black bishop is controlling d7. So anytime they can offer exchange, but we don't have to accept it. We can decline it, right? And if they try to go away, now we can go to c6. We are able to go to c6 because of the king placement only, which was not available in the last problem. Since the king is not on, if the king is on c5, it's a draw. If the black king is on c5, it's a draw. So not this one. Yeah. So the second conclusion is if the king is helping the pawn to stop it, stop the promotion, then it's a draw. Okay. Two things are clear. No doubt in these two things. These two are very easy. First conclusion was if the king is away, the pawn will promote. What you need to do is you challenge the exchange of bishop and you win the game. And the second was if the bishop, if the king is helping the bishop, so the pawn cannot go forward. And every time you have these squares like bishop c6 or bishop a5, a4 or b5, and you will be able to either control this diagonal or you will be able to control this diagonal. One of these two diagonals you'll be able to control and you'll be able to draw the game. Clear?
Uh, this
Yeah,
is
please.
uh, this is irrespective of where the pawn is, right? Like in which file.
Yeah, I'm coming to that point. I'm coming to that point. Right now, we are assuming that we have enough space on both the diagonals, so we can take it, and we'll see at what point this matters. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And one more thing I forgot to tell you, everybody, that if you have any question, you can ask it immediately, and do not wait for me to continue and finish the topic, and then only you ask. If you have a question, you ask it immediately. Clear the route. Okay. So we just saw the king, black king's position matters if there is no problem of short or long diagonal. These diagonals are like four or more than 4 squares long, so there is no problem. The problem happens if we do the same thing on a diagonal which is less than 4 square, or you can see 3 or less than 3. So this diagonal has only 3 squares. I mean, there are two diagonals, this one and this one, from where we can control the pawn. But the problem is one diagonal has only 3 squares. So this is a short diagonal. And if there is a short diagonal, so it will be a, yes, it will be win. White will win the game. We'll be running out of these squares at some point. And this way, this one you can win by doing a zugzwang. Let's say you're playing black pieces, you're playing white pieces. How do you win it is very simple. You put your opponent in zugzwang. First, you go bishop to c8. And the idea is, what is this? Okay, so the idea is here, we want to offer exchange on bishop b7. So if the bishop plays a waiting move so that you cannot move the pawn forward, now we can offer exchange of bishop. So very simple. We try to go to d3 and then claim this a6 square later to control this diagonal. So now you see we go bishop to d3, but this time white can play the bishop away, f3, or anywhere g2 also works, even d5 also works, and black moves the bishop to a6. And now there is a problem. The problem is we can play a particular move which put black in zugzwang. Do you see it? Yeah. You're not able to see?
Sir,
See.
maybe
Yeah.
E2, maybe.
No, g2. You're cheating.
Sir, bishop E2.
e2. He'll not accept the exchange. He'll go to d8. If you go bishop e2, he'll go d8.
We will go to
b8.
white bishop.
Okay, this position you try to think.
B7.
d7.
B7.
How can you go d7?
B7. B7.
d7 you're saying this is d7.
B for Bombay.
Okay, b7 you want to go. With the black bishop, you lose the bishop then.
No.
Oh, we go bishop b7. Now you see
Yeah.
you're blocking the pawn. You can no longer push the pawn, so the bishop can come back.
Yeah, but
Yeah, please.
yeah, but then I can go to this move, na? C8.
Okay. See, then the bishop comes back to the same square and still controls. Okay, see here. Yeah, let's see. Now this position you try to understand. After we play bishop to f3, black bishop is forced to go on a6. Now they're like running out of moves. They're not having a lot of moves to play. The only move they can play is they can play with the bishop to d8. They cannot move the bishop away, right? If it is their turn, they cannot move the bishop to c7, b7. They can only go c8. They cannot move the king away because they lose the bishop. And there is one more problem. They cannot play king b5 because there is a skewer attack on e2.
I think
So they have the
it's
only square.
BG4, BG4, I think.
Yes, yes,
BG4.
great. Bishop g4. And now black doesn't have any move to play. Got it? Should I repeat it again?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So we discussed three things. First one was if there is no problem of diagonals, like we are assuming the diagonals are very long. So what will happen? If black king is helping the bishop is able to control some squares, then black king can stop the pawn from promotion. Here in this position, the king is not making any role, so is not playing any role. So the king cannot help out the bishop, and the pawn will promote. And what you need to do is you need to just offer an exchange of bishop, and you win the game. The second problem we discussed was if the king is controlling squares in near the pawn, so what will happen? You will always have control of one of these two diagonals, not this, one of these two diagonals, and white cannot make progress. So you will be able to stop. So if you want to stop a pawn, this is the ideal situation. You place your king behind the pawn, and of course facing opposition, and you will be able to stop the pawn. White cannot make progress. And the third situation we saw that if the king is behind the pawn but the diagonal is short, the diagonal is short by 3 or less than 3. So in that situation, we win the game by putting the opponent king in zugzwang. What you do is we are playing white pieces. So we are offering exchange of bishop. Let's say they just play a waiting move. Now we offer exchange of bishop on b7, which they decline. And if we move the bishop away, not there, let's say we go here. Yeah. Then what will happen? Bishop has to go to a6. At this moment, you have to realize that black doesn't have any move. If they have to play again, they don't have any move except bishop c8. So just to control bishop c8, you put your bishop into this diagonal and you are able to control the bishop c8. Once you play bishop c8, black doesn't have any single move that let them survive the game. Yeah, bishop cannot go b7, bishop cannot go c8. If the bishop moves away, then we just promote the pawn. And the king also doesn't have any move, because if the king goes to a4 or b4, we take the bishop. And if the king goes to b5, there is funny move, you can play bishop c4 and still win the game. King there, bishop there, king takes bishop, you take, and then win the game. Yeah, that's clear. The diagonal concept is clear. We can win the game if the diagonal is short by 3 or less than 3. Okay. But there is one more condition here, because of which white is able to win the game. This diagonal is short. Till this point, everything is clear now, everybody. Because if I
Yes.
go to the next topic, then I need to make sure that this one is clear to you. Then only I can teach you the next one. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so perfect. So this one, white is able to win not only because of the diagonal is short, but there is one more condition because of which white is able to win the game. That is the placement of king. Right now, the king is able to control 2 squares on the short diagonal. If the king is not able to control these 2 squares on the short diagonal, so even if the diagonal is short, white cannot win the game. Just to give the example, let me show you. Take this example. So this is one diagonal and this is one diagonal. So these are the 2 diagonals. So now the white king is in check with the black bishop. So the king has to make a decision. The king has to either go to e8 or the king has to go to z8. Which way you like to go? Which one you think is correct? We just discussed this concept. Which one you think is the right one? e8 or z8. White can win the game by playing one correct move and the other one is draw.
Sir, J8.
Yeah, z8 is winning, whereas e8 is a draw. And the reason I just told you that the diagonal is short, but that is not the only situation. You have to control 2 squares on this diagonal. And how do we control 2 squares on this diagonal? By
Sir,
playing
by
king
king
g8.
J8.
Perfect. We go king g8, and now we are controlling these 2 squares. And this will be winning for white now. Yeah. Any doubt like how it is winning for white? Or you want to see? Yes. Tejas, is it? Are you getting all this thing, or it's difficult?
No, sir, I'm getting.
Okay, that's great. He's a strong player. Okay, so if we you notice right now again the same problem black will face. He will be running out of the moves. He'll be in zugzwang very soon. And we just played the king move. Now black has to make a move. So let's say black king goes to g8, and they're attacking our bishop. We offer exchange of bishop. They decline. They go to e5. We move our bishop away. Now the bishop has to control this g7 so that they control the promotion. And which move we should play? What is the only move they have right now they can play? And you just need to stop that move.
Bishop h6.
Sir, bishop F.
Perfect. Bishop s6 is the only move they have. So
Bishop
we need to play
check
the move.
e3.
Perfect. Bishop e3. And black doesn't have any move. So it's the same situation. And you can win the game in the same way. Okay, no doubt. So this position, we just discussed. If the diagonal is short, in that situation also, the condition is this trunking must control 2 squares of that diagonal. At least 2 squares of that diagonal. So king g8 is winning, whereas king e8 is draw. Now let's see how the king e8 is draw. If white goes king e8, then what black should play? This diagonal is short. but the king has only control of one square of the short diagonal. So now we can simply go to
Okay, KG6,
king
KG6.
d6. Very good, king d6. And now white cannot make progress. Let's say they offer play bishop f8. We decline it. We go bishop e5. Let's say they move the bishop away. We again decline it. We go bishop g7. And they cannot make here. They can try one interesting thing. They can go bishop to e7, but then we can go bishop g7. And if they offer bishop exchange again, we let's say we go c4. And if they go this side, then we can go to the b4. And they're not able to make progress. You can see it.
Again,
We can
I
just
have a
play
question
waiting.
here.
Yeah.
Here in some sense, what are the two diagonals here?
This is, see, you have to see the pawn, which side the pawn
Yeah.
is going, and where you are going to trade the capture the pawn. So you're going to capture the pawn here. So this
Yeah.
is one diagonal, and this is the other diagonal.
Oh, okay. Super.
Okay.
So-
So the king must control two squares of the short diagonal. So king g8 is winning, whereas king e8 is draw. And the previous problem that we saw here, this is the one diagonal, and this is the other diagonal. But the king has automatically control of two squares on the short diagonal. King is controlling a6 as well as b7, so white king wins the game. Okay, so this was the situation. And now let's see a game where this is a very famous game from where we started developing the theory of bishop pawn endgames. And here, black actually lost the game. Pawn is going this way, you can see. And we know that the bishop is controlling the pawn from going forward. So what is the easiest thing you can do? This was played in the game, but there is a better move you can play here. We know that we cannot go and control his squares in the front. We cannot block the pawn because by that time king will be able to come and stop us. So what is the best situation? You remember? Best ideal scenario for black king to be on behind the pawn, right? If we are behind the pawn, maybe let's say g4, e4, we will be able to stop the pawn. So the best thing will be to go on d5, and if they move the king, I mean they can move the bishop, but that doesn't make any progress. We go e4, they move the bishop away. We can go. The funny thing is you can go f3. So we go f3, and let's say they try to offer bishop exchange. Here we go z4. They offer exchange. Now we decline it. And you notice this is one diagonal, and this is one diagonal. Diagonals are wrong, and we are in the we are able to take opposition. Opposition doesn't matter here actually, and we'll be able to stop the pawn. Okay. It seems like if we go from the behind, we'll not be able to chase the pawn. But this is the best thing you can do. You just go and stay behind the pawn, and white cannot make progress. In the game, king to d7 was played. This is a difficult way to draw the game. Actually, black lost the game by making one mistake. King d7 was played, and I think king g4 and king g6, followed by king to e8. And here, the game is still a draw. Bishop to f4. King to f8 was not king f8. This is a blunder. Here, the move that draws the game is king f8. And the reason is you have to block the pawn. But in the game, bishop to d4 was played, and you notice these are the only two squares where the pawn can be stopped. And black simply took the control of f6 square and control the diagonal, and black lost the game very soon because you cannot make any move here. Let's say if you play the bishop, you lose the bishop. Bishop just blocked the way. You remember the similar game like this? Deng Liren played this move. Bishop all the way in the corner, and his bishop got traded. Yeah, you remember?
Yes, sir. Dengler also Mukesh, I think so.
I think bishop a1 was the probably bishop a8 was the move. I don't know. I think
So
one of these
Bishop
two moves.
and
Yeah, so he played the bishop all the way in the corner, and then the bishop got traded. So here, black cannot make any move. Let's say you go bishop e7. You can offer a bishop exchange, and if you decline the bishop exchange, then the problem is pawn promotes without any problem. You give a check, push the pawn, and then push the pawn again, and the pawn promotes. Okay, so this is just a lesson that if you want to stop a pawn with the help of bishop, it is better to just block the pawn here on the opposite color square, or if you're not able to get on go on those squares, then stop the pawn from behind. Okay, that will be a better idea. Okay, so bishop pawn is clear. Bishop against pawn. How to fight against one pawn? There are only four situation in the bishop against pawn. First one was if the king is helping the bishop, then the pawn will be stopped, and if the king is not help out the bishop, then the pawn will be promoted. And the way to win the game is to offer exchange of bishop and promote the pawn. You will always have enough time to win the pawn endgame. because king will be always away from like the drawing zone. And second situation we discussed was if the king is helping out the bishop from behind, we are able to draw the game, and there is a condition the diagonal must be 4 or more than 4 square long. So both the diagonals are 4 or greater than or equal to 4. So we can draw the game easily. Okay. Next situation was if the diagonal is 3 or less than 3, then there is a problem, and the problem is we'll be running out of the moves. Black will run out of the moves and will go in zugzwang and will not be able to hold the game and lose the game. And for that also, white has one more condition, that is white must control 2 squares, at least 2 squares in the short diagonal. Okay. And if white is not able to control 2 squares in the short diagonal, then this is draw again. And this was the example. So these are the only 4 situations of bishop against pawn. Okay, there will be no other situation you'll be facing apart from these 4. Okay, bishop against pawn is clear. It's a very short topic, an easy
Yes,
topic.
sir.
Any question in the bishop against pawn before we jump to the knight and pawn?
No,
What
sir.
about
Yeah,
the
please.
what about the case
Yeah, please.
wherein like the king is
King is,
behind, like the opponent king is behind the pawn?
and you are in front of the pawn.
Yeah.
Then the pawn is blocked. No, the pawn can never be promoted. If you're seeing
So
this
that's also
situation,
draw, right?
yeah, that's automatically a draw.
So that's
Let's say
also
the pawn is this way, black king is here, and there is a dark square bishop. Or maybe we can keep a light square bishop. Yeah, this position is what is illegal. Okay, it is white to play. We can keep black.
The king in check.
Okay, now this is a draw. White cannot do anything to move the king away from this square. Okay, so that's the draw. We'll be facing problem only when the king is not able to go in front of the pawn. So in that situation, we go behind the pawn. Okay, now we are going to discuss the knight against pawn. Knight against pawn is very tricky and needs many ideas. So we'll learn those ideas. Okay, so we'll discuss in 3 parts. Knight against pawn, and we'll be discussing this in pawn from C, D, E, or F file. What happens if the pawn is in the C, D, or F file? Then we'll discuss what happens if the pawn is in the B or Z file, and we'll be discussing then what happens if the pawn is in the A and H file. For the C, D, E, and F file, we'll say that this is rook's pawn, not rook pawn, central pawns. And the B and G file is the knight's pawn. Okay, there is no confusion with these terms now. You already know why we call B and G pawn as the knight's pawn, because in the beginning the knight is placed in the same line on B1, G1, B8, G8. Yeah, so this is now let's see this one. So this right now the pawn we have is of central pawn. The pawn we have right now is in the D file. So any pawn from C, D, E, or F is the central pawn in case of knight, and the knight can easily stop the pawn from getting promotion. So what we do is we have to control the square in front of the pawn, and if you're able to do so, you're able to stop the pawn. So you see the knight can make a circuit kind of thing like this, and we are always going on these squares, and we are able to hold the game. They're attacking on knight. We go to D1. They attack on C2. We can go F2. Now they have to take a long way. By that time, we'll be able to go to D1, and we'll be able to hold the game. Okay. So you might ask why this thing is working on the C, D, E, and F file only. Why not other file? So you notice right now.
Hello.
Yes, Ankit.
Namaste.
Okay, so you notice the knight is in the is controlling the D pawn, and to make a successful circuit, we are going to B2, D1, F2, and D3. So we are if the pawn is at the C file, then we still be able to make the same thing instead of this way. Yeah. If the pawn is on the C2, then what will happen? We'll be making something like this, right? But the problem happens if the pawn is in the B file. If the pawn is in the B file, then we don't have any other extra file. So that will be another situation. So C to F will be a draw. Okay. From c to f5, the knight can hold the pawn easily, and you can make a draw. This is very simple. Very easy thing here. You just go control one of the promotion square, and you will be able to control the pawn. The king cannot make any progress. So c to f, there will be no problem. The problem happens in the b and g files. So c to f is a draw. I just wanted to mention that c to f is a draw. But let's see what happens into the c file. Now you tell me which square you would like to go, to d3 or e2. It's a c pawn. We know that it must be a draw, but where you would like to go to stop the pawn? Yeah, anyone? Okay, see the previous problem. Yeah,
Maybe ND3.
not knight d3. See, the previous problem we discussed that if there is a pawn from c to f file, what we need to do is we need to make a circuit, and the circuit we can make like this. So you need to make this position or this circuit kind of thing in this one. So from where we are able to make it? From d3 or e2?
E2.
From e2 we are able to make. E2 we can go, and then we have the excess of these squares. Then we are able to make. So we go e2 and it's a draw. If they go to d1, not this. If they go d1, you might think what if d2? We'll see. If they go d1, then we go to c3, and we have enough time to go on any of these squares, a2, c1, e2, and then c3. The problem happens, what if they go to d2? Oh,
So
already
knight,
highlighted. Yeah. Knight.
if he promotes, then we will play knight b3.
Yeah, so we go knight d4. This is the move. So we go d4, and for a moment only we are going out of this circuit, but we'll be able to come back to the same circuit in the next few moves. Or maybe just like if they attack on d3, where do we go?
So we can capture the pawn.
Oh, you can take the pawn, of course. And there is no move they can make here. Yeah, the pawn is under attack, and if they promote the pawn, then they lose the pawn. They can promote to a knight if there was a bishop on the board, and still it's a draw. Okay, so e2 is a draw, but the question is, okay, e2 is draw, then d3 must be losing. Yes, d3 is losing. So find out if the knight goes to d3, what black should play. e2 idea is clear. We are able to make circuit from e2, and we are able to hold the game, and that will be a draw. But d3 is actually losing. So if the knight goes to d3, we can win the game with black pieces, but then you have to be precise. You cannot just play random moves and win. If the knight goes to d3, then how to win the game with black pieces? Will you go d2 or d1? We can even consider b1. No, we cannot play b1. Yeah, try to think. Rishabh, is everything getting clear to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
KD1. KD1.
King d1 is winning. We'll discuss king d1 soon. What is the problem with king d2? If the king goes to d2, what is the problem?
So white can play knight c5.
Knight c5. Okay. What black should play then?
Maybe KC3.
Black to will
KC.
play with C1.
Sorry, Ankit. Yeah, what you're saying?
I am saying black will play C3.
King c3. Okay. And then white will go to
White will go to
either a4 or e4. Those are the only two checks. So let's be flexible. Go to a4. The king goes to d3.
yes.
Or even we can go to this square. Do they have any? Oh, there is a fork possible. That's funny. There is knight to g3. So we go to g3, and the knight goes back to the same square. Are we able to hold?
Yes.
How?
We will go to
C4?
C4.
Yeah, and there is nothing they can do.
No, because
Yeah.
both squares are covered by us.
Okay, so if we go, if the knight comes to d3, So d1 is, what about d1? What do you think about d1? Is this winning?
The D1.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yes, I think it's winning.
no, why? D1. Not D1. No, how it will run to D1?
If you just go d1.
Huh?
Yeah. What about
Then
d1?
he can play his king also, no?
Yeah, if he brings the king, then you go d2. There is no difference. See, if
Huh.
d2 is winning, then here d1 should also be winning. So we analyze that d2 is winning, so d1 is also winning. The problem will happen if the pawn is in b file. I'll show you. In that situation, one move is winning and the other move is not winning. Here, d2 and d2 and d1 both are winning, and you can win the game by playing any of these two. Let's say you go d2, they play the knight to c4, c5, and you know that you cannot promote, but you can go c3, and then you go in zigzag. This way you go c4, and then you are able to stop the knight from attacking the pawn. Okay, is this clear? We are discussing what happens if the pawn is in the c2f file, and if the pawn is in the c2f file, it is draw game, and the way to draw the game is to make a circuit. Yeah, knight to e2 is draw, whereas knight d3 is losing. Okay, now we are going to discuss the next one. That is what happens if the pawn is in the b file. Black pushes the pawn, and notice here it is white to play, and now we are not able to make any circuit from the promotion square. You notice we don't have access to this one. Yeah, if there was one more file to the left, then this is a draw, because we know that we go d2 and then it's a draw. But since there is no access on the left, the game is actually losing for white. This one is tricky. Here, if the knight goes to d2, you can win the game easily. After king c2, knight goes to c3. We go to c. Wait a second, we made a mistake. We need to go to c1. Yeah, this time we cannot go to c2, right? If you go to c2, then the same problem. Knight goes to c4, and then you lose the game. Not lose the game, but you lose the pawn. So it is very important to go to c1, and now you're winning the game. Clear? This one is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if they go d2, this time you go to c1 and not c2. And if they go to d3, you already analyzed this thing, then you can go to c2 or c1, both are winning the game. Okay, against the knight's pawn, that means the pawn in the b and g file, it is winning for black, but black has to be careful. After the pawn push and after knight to d2, you have to go king c1 and not king c2. King c2, then there is knight c4. The pawn is under attack and the pawn cannot be promoted. Clear? Against the knight's pawn also. Should we go to the rook's pawn? Yes, Tejas, it is clear to you. You are already knowing this thing, or you just came to know all this? Yes?
Sir, I knew.
Okay, that's great. Okay, we'll learn a few more things about the knight's pawn, so most likely that will be new for you. Okay, against the rook's pawn, you can stop the rook's pawn also. But in that situation, you have to make a circuit again, and that circuit you'll be seeing like this. So you have to go to any of these four squares, e3, f1, h2, or z4. Once you go on any of these four squares, you are able to stop the pawn, and the king cannot make progress. Let's say you go z4, they attack your knight. This time you have access to e3, so you can go e3. They cannot push the pawn as there is a fork. So if they try to attack, then you have this time you have access to f1, so you can go f1 and stop the pawn from promotion. Okay. Against the rook's pawn, you can stop the pawn if the pawn is in the 6th rank. If the pawn is already in the 7th rank or the 8th rank, not 8th rank. If the pawn is in the 7th rank, then we cannot do anything. Either it's be winning, because the pawn is going to promote in just one move. So you have to control the promotion square. So if the pawn is in the 6th rank, then you can stop the pawn. If you are able to make a square in front of the pawn in front from h2, and you are able to control any of these squares, then it will be a draw. Like if you are or on e3, f1, any of these squares you are on, it is a draw. And we have kept the king very far away because just to show you that even if the king is not playing the role here, we are able to stop the pawn alone with the knight. Yeah. Now we'll see some of the other example. There is a barrier kind of thing here. Yeah. So this pawn is under attack. So of course the pawn will go forward. Now we know that this is the square that we have to go on. Do you see any way to go on? Like how do we go on any of these squares? Which move we should play? If we are directly able to go on any of this square, last time we were able to play knight g4 and then we were able to draw the game. But this time we are not able to go on any of these squares. So we have to play a move in which in the next move we can go on any of these squares. So what do we play?
Knight g3.
Knight z3, that's great. We go knight z3. If they push the pawn, then
We can go to knight h1.
Knight h1. Actually, knight h1 I think is losing. Knight h1 is not a good move. Yeah, actually knight h1 is losing. Now this is getting tricky. Here knight is playing a very crucial role on g3, then on h1. Okay, now the knight is playing a very important and beautiful role here. You notice the knight is controlling these two squares, right? And the knight is also controlling this square tactically. And this square also tactically, right? So the king cannot use these 4 squares to come and attack the knight. He has to either choose this path or he has to choose this path. Okay. So by the time he comes on this path, what we'll do is we'll be able to bring our king, and you can notice I have already kept the king very far away. And let's see, what we then do is we'll just make a cross here, showing that this square is not accessible for the black king. Now let's say black king, you want to go through the upside or you want to go through the bottom side? Which way?
Upside.
Yeah. Okay, let's go upside. Who has played the move? Okay, it is white's turn. Yeah, so king comes here, black king goes there, king comes here, and the king goes to c5. They attack our knight. This time we go to h1, they go f3, and after this point they take our knight, and we are just in time to make a stalemate. Okay, if we go from the upside, and if we go from the bottom side, I don't think it matters, because they are taking what is this, 1 2 3 4 move to attack the knight, 2 3 4 move to attack the knight, to capture the knight actually. So from the upper side, it is taking more moves, 1 2 3. On the 4th move they are attacking, and on the bottom 1 2 3 4. On the 5th move they are attacking. So on the bottom they are taking more moves. So of course that will be we'll be easily able to stop the reach the f2 and then make a draw, right? This way they are taking 4 moves. This way they are taking 5 moves, and we are able to stop here. Then of course we can stop here. So they show you. Let's see. The king goes to c2. I think we will be quicker. We'll be able to reach quickly by 1 move. King there. We go here. Oh, we are exactly on time. Okay. Is this clear? It is clear. Here the knight is playing a very crucial role. If you are not able to go on any of these 4 squares, so you go z3. But now you have to notice that there is a barrier here, and you should not play knight h1 immediately. If you play knight h1 immediately, that's losing. So you keep your knight on z3 and then you bring your king, and you will have enough time to make a stalemate. Okay, a similar barrier we can make here also. Where do we place the knight? Same square, knight z3, right? Or what is this? Is it black to play? Okay, it is black to play. If black to play, they can just promote the pawn. Why they are waiting? Okay, this was the position. And here, we again go to knight z3 and make the control of these squares. And if you're able to control these squares, we are able to come and do the stalemate. Okay, against the rook's pawn also it is clear how to stop. If you are able to make, if you're able to go on any of these 4 squares, any of these 4 squares, then we are easily able to stop the pawn. But if you're not able to go on any of these 4 squares, then in that situation, you have to make a barrier, and then only you have to make a stalemate by giving up your knight. Okay, all the situations are clear against the knight spawn. Yeah, that's clear. Knight against the pawn. We discussed three situations. First one was c to f file, central pawn, which is a draw. And what kind of structure we make is, we make a diamond shape structure like this to make the draw. And then we discuss knight's file, which is losing. And in that one, there was a very important move. You have to play kings to the first rank and not to the second rank. This one. Yeah. Here, after not this, knight d2, we have to go king c1 and not king c2. Against the rook pawn, there are two situations. We have to make a circuit like this from h2 square, and if we are not able to do so, then we have to make a barrier and sacrifice the knight to make a stalemate. All these conditions are clear? All these situations?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll discuss in a situation a knight can be powerful than the pawn. And actually this has happened in many my games also. It is white to play. Find out the, not the last move. Can anyone tell like how to win the game here? This one is easy.
Knight d4.
Okay. Knight d4 is draw.
No, so sorry, knight c1.
Knight c1 is draw. Knight c1 is actually winning. Yeah, knight c1 is winning.
Knight c1
What about
is
knight d4? Yeah, knight d4, how it is a draw? Knight d4, king a2.
king a2.
And then you go back to the same square. It is still winning, but you're just repeating once. See, when you go knight d4, they cannot push the pawn, so they have to go a2. You come back to the same square. They have to go a1. So you're repeating once only. It's still winning. Yeah, knight c1 is winning. That's very simple. Because you're taking away the e2 square, and they have to push the pawn only. And then you can go b3, and it is checkmate. Okay, this one is a very easy checkmate. So you can understand that a knight can sometimes win against the pawn also. And not only one pawn, sometimes it can win against two pawns. In the test, you will have a test also. I will share you a test through Google form in which you'll find these problems and you can try over there. Okay, in that one, I have included those problems. So this one we just saw. Now this one is for you. You have to solve it by your own. You have to find the answer by your own. And yeah, this is winning, of course, right? White can win the game. White can actually do the checkmate and try to solve it by your own. Because black's moves are very much forced. Only one move he will have every single time. So you have to think of how to maneuver your king and the knight and do checkmate. So this you have to do by your own. I will not show you the answer. Okay. You'll get all these study material on your WhatsApp. Yeah, this one is clear. Previous problem is clear, no? Yeah. Yeah, Rohan, you want to ask
KF1, KF1, the last puzzle, sorry.
the last puzzle? This one?
Yeah, KF, no.
This one?
Next, yeah, KF2.
KF2. Okay, you have to find out by your own whether, how to win the game. This is winning, but you have to find out by your own. And King F2, it is not the right way of saying the answer. King F2, you're asking me whether King F2 is the right answer or not. You have to find the answer by your own. When you're saying the answer, you're supposed to say one move, let's say King F2, and you know that King will go to H1, so you have to mention King H1, and then what is your next move? Until it is not very obvious that it is winning, you have to tell the answer, whole answer. Okay, King F2 alone is, a move cannot be the whole answer here. Okay, so solve it by your own. Now we are going to discuss this one. This one is a very easy thing that is called as knight's dumb square. A pawn can win the knight against the knight because knight on these squares are very badly placed, and that's why we call it as knight's dumb square. And you can win the game by attacking the knight. The knight is under attack. If they move the knight away, then the problem is the pawn. They can move and still stop it. But if they don't move the knight, then the problem is the pawn goes to a7 or they lose the knight. Okay, let's assume the king is away. Then the knight, either they will lose the knight or the pawn will get promoted. So these squares we take as knight's dumb square. Sometimes it will be useful, sometimes it will not be, and most of the time it will not be useful. So you can take it as likely. Okay, this one is very important. And now this is not knight against pawn, but is knight and pawn against nothing. So we are playing black pieces. I'm rotating the board. So it is white to play or black to play? Okay, it is black to play. So it is black to play. What do you think it is a draw or win? Like black can win, black can draw the game, or white is able to win the game?
So black can draw.
Black can draw. Okay. And anybody else who think black can win? White can win? Okay. What is the answer here then? If black is able to draw the game, then what is the answer? Which move you'll play?
King F7.
And what is the idea? Why King F7? Why not King F8?
Because after King F8, Knight D5 can also come.
Knight D5 can also come.
And we cannot go to F7. The king will go to G7 and the pawn will promote.
Let's assume the board is like far away on the upside. Okay. And the knight is placed very far away. Then how you will calculate? Will you calculate the same way? Let's say the knight is placed on here. Now what you'll do? How you'll calculate? Okay, so you're right. The answer is correct, but the process of finding the answer is wrong because that is not going to work again in the game when you play in the tournaments. Here, you just spot on which color the knight is placed. The knight is placed on the light square, so you go on the light square, f7. Okay, in this situation, knight is on d3, or if the knight was on h1, then also you can do the same thing. You just go to the same square, and then you are able to draw the game because the knight cannot lose tempo. You know this thing, everybody? The knight cannot lose tempo. Knight cannot.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you just Okay, that's great. Rohan, Asni, Khyati.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So just take an example why the knight cannot lose. If the knight is going all over the places and coming back to the same square, knight will always take even number of moves to come to the same place. So that is the reason the knight cannot lose the tempo. Like you go any square. Let's say we go here. Let's do it in green. Yeah, yeah. Let's go here, 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 and here. This must be even number of moves. Okay, you can count it and you can see that it is an even number of moves and not odd number of moves. So that's the reason the knight cannot lose extra move. So if the knight comes to e5, you can go to f8 and you see the knight is controlling f7, but the knight has to leave the control of f7. Knight has to go somewhere else. And you're always having these two squares and the white king cannot come outside to promote the pawn. But if you play the wrong move, let's say you play king f8, now actually it's losing because the knight comes to e5. And as they just mentioned that the knight controls the f7 square, the king has to go away and then the pawn promotes. What you need to keep in mind, you're keeping the king on the same color of knight. Okay. I came to know this thing after a very long time. Earlier, I used to do the calculation same way that Tejas was doing. Just calculate everything and then figure out which one is correct. But I found this idea and this was actually more powerful. Okay, so the knight topic is clear. Knight against pawn. No question in this one. This one is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now we are going to discuss relatively an easy topic, but the application is tough here. A queen against pawn. We are discussing the queen against pawn. If the pawn is in second to the sixth rank, there is no problem. The queen can always stop the pawn. And not only stop the pawn, but can also win the pawn and win the game. But the problem happens if the pawn is in the seventh rank. Right now, the pawn is in the seventh rank from black's perspective. Oh, wait a second. I think we are making, but from black's perspective, the pawn is in the seventh rank. So if you're playing white pieces, we know that it is like the very critical situation because black is always ready to promote the pawn. So this one we'll be discussing in again in 4 parts. One is what happens if there is a central pawn. We'll discuss again the central pawn, then the knight's pawn, and then bishop pawns, and then rook's pawn. And you also notice we have taken one assumption, that is the king is not playing any role. Our king is not playing any role. It's far away from the pawn. So we are discussing what happens if I mean if the queen is alone able to tackle all this or not. So if there is a b pawn, if there is a g pawn, let's take the central pawn first. Yeah, this is the central pawn. Central pawn means e or d pawn. So against the e or d pawn, what do you think? This is winning or a draw? How many of you already know this thing?
Sir, I know, but I need to revise.
Okay, you can think, you can calculate.
Sir, this is winning.
Okay, this is winning. Perfect. Okay, so try to figure out by yourself like which file it is draw then. Others, what do you think? It is winning or draw?
Sir, Rook's file is draw.
Okay,
Rook's
that's
file.
right. Yeah, that's right. That's
Uh,
good. Tejas.
I know the answer. I just don't remember the
Okay, you
logic.
already know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who wants to try this, try to play and win. Okay, Tejas, are you attending this class in computer or laptop?
But sir,
In which device you are attending the class?
I am editing it in my tab.
Okay, so I think I can give you the control. I'm
No,
giving the
sir.
control. No, not possible. Anyone else who is attending in this in PC or computer or laptop?
Sir, I'm in a laptop.
Okay, I'm. Do you know how to win? Try
Sir, I
it.
can try.
Okay, you try. You're playing white pieces. Try to win the game.
Okay.
What you need to do is you need to
Sir, can
capture
I
the.
tell you?
Okay, okay. Let her try first, and then you can tell.
Okay, sir.
Asni, you can try. Or you tell the move. I see you are able to not able to control the board.
So, Queen
Okay,
B7.
Queen D is this. Okay, Queen to D7. The king is in check. King goes to C2, C1.
So, Queen C, sorry, Queen C6.
Queen C6. King comes back to D1.
Queen D5.
King C2.
Queen C4.
King D2. Till this point, you will not face any problem. You will be able to bring your queen closer to the king. Yeah, tell them more.
Queen D4.
King C2.
Queen E4.
No, that's it's still winning, but not the right way to play. Tejas, you tell which move is the best move here.
Queen E3.
Yeah, Queen E3 is the right move. The reason why it is the right move because you're forcing the opponent king to go on D1. It's not very tough. You will see because you can play anything, and literally after playing, you'll understand that why Queen E3 is the right move. King goes
After
to D1.
thinking,
Yeah,
Queen D3.
yeah. The reason behind Queen E3 was to play next Queen D3 so that the king goes behind the pawn. And once the king goes behind the pawn, we got a free
Queen
tempo.
D7.
Yeah, now we can bring the king. And you can repeat the same thing. Let's say the king goes to F2. You give check. You can just pin the pawn.
Yes.
And then you can do the same thing. And now you got a free move. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
And okay, one of you can definitely see it. Can do it in the leeches. Let's see. Rishabh, you want to try? Yeah, Rishabh.
Sure.
Sir,
Okay.
can I try?
I'll give you the difficult one, not this one. I think this was the Queen SS central pawn. Where are the pieces?
Sir, can I do it?
Okay, you're playing white pieces. Okay, this is I'm giving you the control. Uh, it will be great if you also.
Sir, I can't.
Okay,
Sir,
now
I
you can
can't
you can
do
you
this
can do it.
game.
Now you can do it. You try it. You have the control. Double tap to get the control.
Yes.
Yeah, you are able to control. Plate.
Sir.
Sir, can I try?
Okay, let him do it, and then you can try. Because this thing you have to try by your own. This is not something knowledge; it is a skill. King c1. Now, as you remember, you played queen. You were saying queen e4. Queen e3 is the better try.
Okay, sir.
And then we have queen d3, as this is doing correctly. Perfect. A wrong attempt, but still winning. The king goes f2. F2 has to be the best move. Okay, what will play? Okay, Tejas, I see you're able to do. Should we stop this one and then go to the other one? Let other try for the remaining few moves. Yeah. Okay, Asni, you try. You try to bring the king closer by. Okay, you can bring your king.
G6.
Now I'm giving you the control. Yeah, you try it.
Okay, sir.
Bring your king closer by 2 more steps. King to d2. The same technique can be used in the other pieces, but you'll see there is a problem in the bishop and the rook pawn. We are able to execute this in the central pawns as well as in the knight pawn. Will they go e1? No. You can pin the pawn also. Not every single time you have to go far away. Okay, now it has to be winning. Okay, the king goes c1 and you can take the pawn. Okay, now it's winning, no doubt. Okay, so this one is winning. Now what you can do is we are going to stop this one. Just a moment. Yeah, so this way you can win the game against the central pawn. And the same technique you can use against the knight's pawn. Okay, if there's a knight's pawn, you can do the same technique. I'm giving the control this time to yourself. You try it and you try to win the game. It will, yeah. Why you'll move the queen? You got another free move. The pawn is not going anywhere. Why you move the queen? Yeah, nice. Perfect. King h1. Okay, so that's all. Okay, now we can stop this. It's easily winning. Against the knight pawn and the central pawn, it's easily winning, but there is a problem with the bishop's pawn. Every single time we saw that the king is going behind the pawn and we are able to bring our king. But the same thing will not work over here. It is very important. They have to play king b2. And let's say we go d2, they go b1, we give a check. This time they'll not go c1, they'll go king a1. And after you give a check, they go b1. And if you give a check, all the time we saw that the king was going to c1. But this time what they will play?
King A1.
Yeah, the king will go to a1. And the problem is we cannot take the pawn. And we cannot bring the king because they promote the pawn.
Stalemate.
Yeah, so against the bishop's pawn, the problem is the king will go in the corner and we cannot take the pawn. Okay, so there is no free move, so we cannot bring the king and we can never take the pawn. So that is a draw. A similar problem. Yeah, yeah, please.
I think can you just about that? I think also here when we promote, I think we have to promote to a knight.
No, you don't have to. If you promote to a knight, it is always queen against knight is a winning game. You don't have to. You promote to why? You'll promote to a queen. Why you'll promote to a knight? See, this position, it is white to play. Black is threatening to make a queen, and of course, threatening to make a queen. So white has to either give a check or capture the pawn. Capturing the pawn is a stalemate immediately. So they'll give a check. King goes to b1. Black is again threatening to make a queen. So king b1, queen b3. The king goes a1, and this will repeat. We cannot make white cannot make progress. The promotion thing comes when it is losing. In the losing situation, you'll see the promotion is to knight is coming, and still it loses. Here it is a draw. You can always make a queen, and if you're not able to make a queen, then white has to rely on perpetual, and it will be a draw. And in the rook's pawn, this time the king has to go b1. Otherwise, if the queen comes a1, then it's easily winning for white. King goes b1, and you can give check king b2, and you will notice that black is always ready to make a queen. But if you are able to force the king go in the corner, seems like we have stopped the promotion. But the problem is we have stalemated the king, and we don't have time to bring the king. Same problem here also. Okay. So all these 4 conditions are clear. Yeah, these 4 are actually easy. The application is tough. I'll just show you that one also. So what we discussed against the central pawn, it's winning. Against the knight's pawn, it's win. Against the bishop's pawn, it's a draw by stalemate. And against the rook's pawn also, it's the same thing. Draw by stalemate. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this one is clear. So if you're playing, through the stronger side, then the problem happens. The central pawn is winning, knight's pawn is winning, so there is no problem. The question is there any situation we can win against the bishop's pawn or the rook's pawn? Because we took the extreme situation where the king is far away. But in the actual game, you'll see sometime, or most of the time, your king is not far away. Your king is a little bit closer. So if the king is closer, then it doesn't matter if you have the rook's pawn or the bishop's pawn. It is winning. And by the how much closer? So you have to be 2 step away, at least maximum 2 step away from the key square. And what the key square means, I will tell you. For the moment, you just try to understand these are the 2 important squares to place your king to deliver checkmate. In many of the cases, when you do checkmate with the king and the rook, you know that you place your king here, or sometime king to f7, or king here or here, or here. Yeah, these squares you place your king and deliver checkmate. You remember? Like when we have king, we deliver the checkmate. We do something like this. We have our king here, opponent king here, and we deliver the checkmate by the rook. Something like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so these squares are key squares here. So we want to go on any of those 2 squares, and you can notice we are 2 squares away, maximum 2 squares away. So we can say that our king is near to the opponent pawn, and we are able to win the game. The way you win the game is you have to allow the promotion. You give some series of checks to place your queen on a better square. Yeah, and then you allow them to promote the pawn. Now you see the queen is well placed. So what you can do is you can play king f6. If they promote to a knight, they're getting checkmated in 1, and they have to promote to a queen. But then you have king g6. You have to remember this position. And the king is helpless here on g8. There is nothing they can do, and you are able to deliver king f7 checkmate, or e8 checkmate, or g8 checkmate in the next move. Yeah. So if the king is near, what we have to do? We have to first place the queen on the correct square, and then we have to place our king on the key square. Okay, let's see one more example. This one, they have the f pawn. So what we do? We bring our queen closer. King goes h8. We cannot take the pawn, but what we can do? King g6.
King G6.
Yeah. Now they promote, or whatever they do, it is winning for black. And here there is a question. If the king goes z8, this time also we can play the same move, king to g6. Okay, this was easy. Now let's take the other one. Yeah, this one. This one is a bit weird because you have to make sure that the king is not able to go to the other side. So we start with the same technique, queen a7. King goes to e8. We give queen b8 check. King goes to e7. Actually, we can do the same thing. Okay, anyway, let's do it in leeches. King goes to d8. And they are going far away from the pawn, which is not good. So you have queen. This time they have to go to f1. That's the only move. But now you're winning. What we do? We bring our king. And notice they cannot go to g8 because then you have king to g6. So they have to go to g7 only. And if they go g7, we have queen e7. And we are forcing them to go to either h8 or z8. And in both situations, you are able to play queen to g6 and win the game. Like they go g8, you go g6 and still winning. And if they go h8, same problem, you go g6 and still winning. So these are some technique you can do checkmate by placing your king on g6. Okay. Now there is a different kind of checkmate that sometimes occurs, and that is checkmate on through the side of the board. Like queen will help you to do the checkmate. Like this position, it is important to not let them go f1. F8, because if they go f8 and then g8, it is a draw. We cannot do anything. So it is important to give a3 check, queen a3, king goes e8, and this time we can go to a8. The reason is you go 8 because you don't want to let them go to again f8, and we are bringing our king closer. This time we can go e4, but now they are able to go f8, but the situation has been changed. We are a little bit closer. We go h7, forcing them to go away. King e8, they cannot make a they cannot go to e7 because there is a pin. So they go to e8 so that they can still promote. But now the problem is we have time to bring the king to c6. And now whatever they promote, except the knight, it is a checkmate on d7. And if they promote to a knight, then we move the queen away and still win. So if they make a queen, we have queen d7 checkmate. So this checkmate also occurs. So only there are two kind of checkmate patterns. This one, which you just saw, opponent queen is blocking one square, and the this kind of checkmate where you're able to go on key square and then you're able to win the game. And sometimes you let them promote, like in this same position, if the queen was on, let's say, e7, you can even allow them to promote with a check, and then you can win. Okay, that's clear. Should we learn some tricky thing, like how you can trick your opponent to win the game?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. This one is very interesting. Here, objectively, this position is a draw. Okay, so there is no doubt till this point. We discuss the queen against pawn, and there are total 4 situations, actually 3 situations. One is against central pawn, and the knight's pawn. Against the central or the knight's pawn, it is winning. Against the bishop pawn or the rook's pawn, it is draw. But there is a condition: if the king is closer, then we can win the game by allowing them to promote the pawn to a queen, and you can do checkmate later. And this situation, even if your king is closer, you're not able to win the game. Like here, opponent is always ready to promote the pawn, and we are not able to do this thing. Because if the king was on d, let's say e2 or d2, then maybe we are able to do something like this. And if the pawn is like a5, then only. But the problem here is they are ready to promote the pawn. We cannot win the game objectively, but we can trick them. And if they do the mistake, then we can win the game. And you'll see the mistake. We start with queen b3. We'll repeat once. You'll see how we repeat once. King goes e1. We of course don't take. We go queen to e3. We are stopping the taking the control of c1. They go king b1. Now we go queen e4. And here they can go king a1, b2, anywhere. But let's say they go king b2. They are ready to promote. And then we go queen e2. Now the question is, if they go king b1, this is losing. King a1 is draw. You notice our king is well placed. You remember? Okay, I think it is getting difficult for you. Let's see. This position, you remember what we did? We give some check, and we are able to control this thing, and we are able to promote. We are letting them promote, and we are able to win the game, right? But try to imagine this situation where you're not able to bring the king to b3 safely. So what you need to do is, if they go b1, now you notice now you are able to bring your king safely. You can go c4, and if they promote, then you can go to b3, and now you can win the game. But the same technique doesn't work if the king is on a1. Now you think I can go c4 and then followed by b3. It will not work. If you go c4, they promote the pawn to a queen, and this comes with a check. You can go b3, but it's not enough. They have enough time to play queen b1, and whatever you play, they have checkmate. Yeah, they have check, check, and it's a draw. So what you have to do is you trick them by playing, doing triangulation. How do we do triangulation? We go queen e2, e4, and then we come back to e2. I mean, you can go b3, e2, e4, all this repeat. And what you have to do is, in the end, you have to place your queen to e2, and then wait for opponent to play king d1. You can repeat once and then see whether your opponent is playing king b1 or a1. If they play king b1, that's a blunder, and if they play king a1, that's a draw. Okay, this is very trick. Like, if sometimes I've seen like people falling for this king b1, and this one is the same technique. Here it is checkmate on the edge of the board that we saw. Like, you play queen to b2. Again, you are trying to trick them. They go to d1, trying to promote. We pin them. They just move the king away. Now we try to pin from 2 step away. You notice queen is 2 step away from the king. So here the right move is king c3. That's very difficult, but nobody is, I think, gonna play unless they don't know about this. If they play any weird move, let's say king d1, now you're winning because you have king to d4 followed by king to d3, or even king to e4 followed by d3. Yeah, king e4, they make a queen, and we go d3, and now it's winning. So how you trick them? You place your queen 2 step away from the king. You notice here, 2 step away from the king, and you're pinning them. And the best try is to go on a1 if they are on the they're in this side of the board, on the corner side, and if they are not on the corner side, then they have to play a very important move c3, which is something you'll not come up with intuitively. Okay, this is clear. You pin them. What do? We again go b3. We pin them. They go d2. This time we go a2. And the correct move to draw the game is to play c3 and not c1. You see, if c1, then you are winning the game easily. You go to e4. They have d2 or d1. Both actually loses. Let's say they go d2. Or there is another pen. Then you have king to d4. And if they go d1, d3, anywhere it's winning. Okay, let's say they go d1. What is the move that you'll play? Yeah, what is the move that we should play here? Anyone?
King d3.
King d3, yes. Other moves should also be winning.
If they
Yeah.
promote to a knight, then after king d3,
Yeah, that's the
after king
problem. That's the problem. After promotion, you can do the same thing. So here you cannot do it. So you go to e3.
d3.
Let them promote. Now you come to this square. Clear? No doubt.
Sir, without king
Without
d3, it is also a checkmate.
Without king, how can you do
No,
checkmate?
sir, after that.
Okay, yeah, this is still a checkmate. No, you're getting a check.
Oh, yes.
If there was not a check, then you have king to e3, because we saw that in this one we saw the similar example we saw here. Yeah, but this time you have king on d6, so it's not working. Okay, and the final one is queen against queen. Sometimes this one is very complex one, but I will try to make it simple for you. If the king and the queen are in the corner, so you can win the game, but you have to play some precise moves, and you can win the game only in a situation when the king or the queen are on the same line on the corner, and your king is a little bit closer. And our ideal situation will be this one. This situation we'll try to achieve. We try to let them promote, and then we have something like this. Okay, king on a key square, and covering some important square, and we are ready to do checkmate. So let's see, how do we first maneuver the queen? we give queen c5. Very important check. Any other move will not help you. There is no other check, so there is no point of thinking of any other move. Queen c5 is the only check that you can play. Yeah, that's the only check, right? That's the only check. Queen c5 is the only check you can play. Now the king has multiple choice. He cannot go a4, loses instantly. If he goes to b3 or b2 or a2, we'll see all this one by one. The best defensive technique is to go on a2. But if they go b3 or b3 or b2, we'll see how to win. And you have to remember one particular position that will be coming up multiple times. Let's say they go king b3. Okay. If they go king b3, now we have queen b5 check. You notice again the king can go a2. The problem with a2 is what we do. You remember?
King c2.
King c2. Very nice. So you have to remember this idea that if the king is going to b3 and we are able to use this technique, so king will not go b2, a2. They will go to a3. Now we have queen a5 check. King goes to b3 or b2 this time. It doesn't matter. Let's say they go b2 as per my analysis. So king b4. b3 also has the same problem. You can give a check to them. Not from here. Or you can just take the queen, what we are doing. So they have to go to b2. And then we go queen b4 check. This time we are forcing them to go either on c2 or c1 or on a2. If they go c1, then this is checkmate in 2. And if they go to e2, we reach the particular position and we can go c2. We'll call this as a star position, just for reference. In this position, we have to play king c2. And every single time we'll try to achieve this thing. Okay, so you see from the beginning, queen c5 check. The king goes to b3. And then we have queen b5 check. King goes to a3. Queen to a5 check. King b2 is forced, otherwise they lose the queen. And then we have queen b4 check, king a2, and then king c2. And we are able to win the game. Okay, now let's see what happens if they play king to a2. In that situation, we have to start with queen c4 and not queen to, this is repetition. This is still winning, but it's a repetition. Queen a7 is actually a blunder because if you go king b1, and now they have enough time to block with the queen. Now they can just block with the queen, or you have to repeat position like this. So you have to go queen to c4, the diagonal check. And you see, this diagonal check, this kind of check in the queen endgame is very useful, where opponent is not able to block with the other pieces. They have to make a decision with the king only. So queen c4, again, they have three choice, a3, b2, or b1. b1 loses instantly. b2 also loses instantly. King b2 is going to the same trap we saw, you remember? Queen b4 check, king a2, and then king c2. So the only good move is for them to go on a3. That's the only good move. Now we go queen a6, forcing them to go b2. After b2, we have queen b5. This time they have to go a3. Otherwise, again, same problem. We are able to go on c2. If they go a2, then we have king c2 and we are winning. So they have to go a3. And we are able to achieve the same position. Queen a5 check, forcing them again to go on b2, and we are able to reach on b4 so that they go to a2, and now we have king c2. This is clear. We just saw the winning line. This technique you'll be able to use many times, and you're able to deliver checkmate. This, all three are checkmate. They cannot make defense. Okay, is this clear? This queen against queen, how do we win?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I think our topic of discussion is all these things are clear. We can take questions if you want, anything regarding this session that we discussed, or anything else. That
Sir,
you
I
want to
wanted to ask that when the opponent promotes it into a queen, the opponent calls a bit and says that it is a draw.
No, he cannot claim draw. By making a promotion, how can he claim a draw? Like,
No,
if
see,
they're,
sir, when we both have the queens.
but it's not a draw. Why it's a draw? If you both have a queen, why it should be a draw? Just because material is equal, that doesn't mean that it's a draw. Obviously, if you have let's remove the queen. Let's say both of them have a bishop. Here also you cannot claim draw. I mean, until it is the same color bishop. It is the opposite color bishop, you cannot claim draw. Even I have done checkmate. On leeches I've done checkmate once to my opponent. He just played something like this. King here. And then his bishop something like here, and my king here. And then bishop here. He got checkmated like this. So even if you have just bishop and bishop, you cannot claim draw. You have to fight for the 50 move, and then only you can make a draw. Now there are two kind of rules. One is FIDE rule, and one is USCF. What is the full form of USCF? United States
United States Chess Federation.
Yeah. So in the USCF, you can claim draw if you have not enough material of your own. Like if you have a bishop, and we know that let's say you have bishop only, you cannot win the game. So opponent can claim draw anytime. But let's say the situation is something like you are able to do checkmate. So the FIDE says as long as checkmate is possible, if there is any checkmate possible, then you must play it. You cannot claim draw. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in chess.com they follow USCF, and Leeches follows the FIDE rules. So sometime you'll see that in the chess.com, if you have let's say bishop and bishop and king, and anybody loses on time, the game is draw. But in Leeches, if anybody loses on time, he loses the game. To win the game in chess.com, you have to have enough meeting material of your own. Okay. Anybody else? Any other thing? Tejas, you want to ask anything? Any other question?
No, sir.
Okay, so what we'll do is I will give you these studies so that you can go through it by your own. You can discuss, you can go through it, and you can learn more ideas. You can analyze the problems. And one more important thing, I will also share you this this Google form of test which you have to attempt, and you can attempt in the next 4 to 5 days. And it is a 40-minute test. What you have to do is the problem that we have discussed, similar problems will be here. You just need to solve it and select the answers. In the end, you will be able to there is similar problem. The last puzzle is exactly same. So you will be able to see your answer, and you will be able to also see analyze the answers as well. Okay, all these things I'll show you, and we'll meet on the next week. And the next week we are going to discuss about the, remember the topic name? What is the topic for the next class?